Kazari Mancho arrives late after another long day, stepping into his large, shining house that feels empty despite its beauty. His life is full of meetings, money, and control, yet his heart feels heavy and distant. The rooms are quiet, and every step he takes reminds him how alone success can be. He removes his jacket, moving through the space like a stranger, unaware that a small moment is about to change him. The woman who cleans and cares for the house works with calm patience. She never raises her voice, never explains her pain, and never asks for help. Every task is done carefully, even when her body is tired. Behind her calm face is a life full of worry, but she hides it well because she believes silence keeps her job safe. That evening, something unusual happens. With nowhere else to turn, she brings her little girl inside, hoping no one will notice. The child stays close, small hands holding tightly, eyes filled with fear and confusion. She is too young to understand why nights feel uncertain, and places never feel permanent. Later, when the house grows still, a soft voice breaks the silence. The child speaks gently, thinking only her mother can hear. Her words carry longing and fear, and they float through the quiet air. By chance, those words reach someone they were never meant for. The man stops moving. He listens, shocked by what he hears. The sound touches a place in him he thought was gone. Curiosity turns into concern, and concern turns into quiet pain. He begins to ask questions he never asked before. What he discovers shakes him deeply. The woman and her child have been surviving in conditions no one should accept. There is no warmth, no safety, only endurance. The truth forces him to face his own past, memories of growing up surrounded by workers instead of love, and parents who chase success while ignoring emotions. Instead of anger, he chooses kindness. He speaks gently and asks what is truly missing. The answer is not money, but security, care, and respect. He makes a choice that night, not as a boss, but as a human being. From that moment, lives change. The child finally rests without fear, and the man learns that real achievement is not measured by wealth, but by compassion and the ability to give others a place where they truly belong. Yulima Nwori spends her days cleaning, washing, and arranging everything with great care. She moves quietly through the large house, making sure every corner looks perfect. No matter how tired she feels, she never shows it. Her face stays calm, her voice stays low, and her pain stays hidden deep inside her heart. She believes that keeping quiet is the only way to survive. Each day is a struggle she does not talk about. When her work finishes late and there is no place for her little girl to stay, she makes a risky choice. She brings her child with her, hoping no one will notice. The small girl follows closely, scared but trusting her mother. The big house feels cold and unfamiliar, and the child clings to the only comfort she knows. As night falls, the lights dim and the house becomes silent. The little girl grows restless and tired. Thinking they are alone, she speaks softly, her voice full of longing. She does not complain or cry loudly. She simply says she wants to leave and be somewhere safe. Her words are weak, but their meaning is strong. Those quiet words reach unexpected ears. A man who owns everything in that house hears them by chance. He stops, unable to move. The simple sentence hits him harder than any business problem ever has. For the first time in years, he feels something deep and painful stirring inside him. Curiosity pushes him to learn more. What he finds is hard to accept. The woman who keeps his house perfect has been living without comfort or safety. Her child has known fear instead of peace. This truth opens old memories he tried to forget. He remembers being young, surrounded by workers but never warmth, growing up rich but emotionally empty. Instead of reacting with anger or blame, he chooses to listen. He asks a gentle question that no one has ever asked her before. The woman is shocked, unsure how to answer. What she needs is not luxury, but stability, kindness, and dignity. That single conversation changes everything. The child finally finds rest without worry. The woman stands taller, no longer invisible. And the man learns that power means nothing if it ignores human pain. In understanding their struggle, he discovers what a real home truly means. When the daycare shuts its doors and the streets begin to empty, Yulima makes a quiet decision she never wanted to make. With fear in her chest, she takes her little girl with her to the large house where she works. She checks around carefully before entering, her heart beating fast. The child walks beside her, holding her hand tightly, sensing that this is not a place meant for her. Inside the building, everything feels too big and too cold. The walls shine, but there is no warmth in them. The girl looks around with wide eyes, afraid to touch anything. She tries to stay silent, copying her mother's careful steps. Yulima finds a hidden corner and asks her to sit still, promising it will only be for a short while. She keeps working, but her mind is no longer on the tasks in front of her. As the night grows deeper, the child becomes tired. Her small body aches, and her eyes grow heavy. She does not understand why they cannot leave, or why they must hide. In her innocence, she leans close to her mother and speaks softly, believing only love will hear her. Her voice is weak but full of need, carrying a simple wish that comes straight from her heart. What she does not know is that someone else is nearby. The man who owns the house pauses when he hears that quiet voice. The words stop him in his place. They are not loud, yet they shake him deeply. For a moment, the busy world he lives in disappears, and he is pulled into a feeling he has avoided for years. He watches from a distance, seeing a side of life he never noticed. The woman he thought he knew only as a worker now stands before him as a mother, tired and worried. The child beside her is not a problem, but a reminder of something missing. Memories rise inside him. Memories of growing up surrounded by people, yet feeling alone. Instead of reacting with anger, he feels a strange sadness. He begins to understand that behind quiet faces can be heavy stories. He realizes that rules mean little when humanity is ignored. That night, a small voice opens his eyes. The child eventually rests, curled close to her mother. In that still moment, something changes forever. A house that once felt empty begins to learn the meaning of care. And a man who had everything starts to understand what truly matters. Thinking they are completely alone, the little girl leans closer to her mother. Her voice is very low, almost like a breath. She is tired, confused, and scared, but she does not cry. She speaks with honesty that only a child can have, sharing a wish that has been sitting in her heart for hours. She wants comfort, safety, and a place that feels familiar. Her mother freezes for a second. Those words hurt more than hunger or long work hours. Yulima keeps her face calm, but inside she feels pain spreading through her chest. She strokes her child's hair gently, trying to give comfort without sound. She does not want to be noticed. She does not want trouble. She only wants her child to feel okay for a little while longer. The house around them feels too quiet. Every sound seems louder than it should be. The girl waits for an answer, her eyes full of hope. She does not know how heavy her words are. She does not know that her simple wish carries years of struggle, fear, and sacrifice. To her, it is just a request. To her mother, it is a reminder of everything she cannot give yet. A few steps away, someone stops walking. The man who owns the house hears a soft voice that does not belong in his perfect world. He does not mean to listen, but he cannot move. The words reach him clearly, and they hit a part of him he thought was empty. His heart tightens, and memories he buried long ago begin to rise. He remembers being young and wanting warmth instead of space. He remembers quiet nights and distant parents. Standing there, he suddenly sees the house differently. The walls feel colder. The silence feels heavy. For the first time, he realizes that comfort cannot be bought, and pain does not always make noise. The mother pulls her child closer, whispering gentle sounds meant to calm her. She promises things she hopes will come true. She keeps her voice steady, even though her hands shake. She believes no one else heard. She believes the moment will pass. But it does not. That quiet sentence changes everything. It opens a door that was never meant to stay closed. In that still night, a child's honest words begin to reshape lives, turning silence into understanding and loneliness into a chance for something better. Kazari hears a small voice by accident, and it stops him in the middle of his step. He does not understand at first what he has just caught, but the feeling hits him before the meaning does. His chest tightens and his breath slows. The sound is soft, yet it cuts deeper than any harsh argument or business loss he has faced before. He stays still, listening without meaning to. The voice belongs to a child, tired and full of need. It carries no anger, only a quiet wish for safety. In that moment, the strong man who controls companies and commands respect feels weak. Something inside him cracks, something he has protected for years with money and success. Memories rush back without warning. He sees himself as a young boy in a large house much like this one. Back then, rooms were full of people, but his heart felt empty. His parents were always busy, always chasing more, leaving him with workers who cared but could never replace love. He remembers wanting attention, warmth, and someone to notice his silence. The house around him suddenly feels different. The walls no longer shine with pride. They feel cold and distant. He looks around and realizes how quiet everything is, how lonely a place can be even when it has everything. For the first time, he notices the space between comfort and care. He takes a few careful steps forward and sees them. A woman standing stiff with worry and a small child pressed close to her. The woman's eyes show fear, not guilt. The child's face shows trust, not mischief. This is not a problem to solve. It is a pain to understand. Anger never comes. Instead, there is sadness, deep and heavy. He feels ashamed for never asking questions, for never seeing the people who make his life easy. He realizes how easy it is to ignore suffering when it does not shout. He clears his throat softly, not wanting to scare them. His voice sounds different even to his own ears, calmer, gentler. He does not speak like a boss or an owner. He speaks like a human being who has just been reminded of something important. That single moment changes his path. The child's quiet wish breaks the wall around his heart. In hearing her, he begins to heal a part of himself he did not know was still hurting. And from that break, something better slowly begins to grow. He slowly discovers where Yelima spends her nights, and the truth shocks him. Instead of a real bedroom, she rests in a narrow space meant for boxes and unused items. The air there is heavy, and the light is weak. It is not a place meant for rest, yet she has accepted it without complaint. Hearing this makes his stomach turn. As he listens more, the full picture becomes clear. She does not have a proper place to live. When work ends, she has nowhere safe to take her child. The little girl has grown used to moving from place to place, never knowing what tomorrow will look like. What should be simple, like sleeping peacefully, has become uncertain every night. Kazari feels a deep weight settle on his chest. He looks around his huge home, filled with empty rooms, and feels uncomfortable for the first time. He wonders how he never noticed this before. How could someone work so hard under his roof and still live with such fear? The thought follows him like a shadow. Yelima stands quietly while he takes this in. She does not defend herself or ask for pity. Her eyes stay low, and her hands remain still. Years of keeping quiet have taught her not to expect understanding. She fears punishment more than hardship, and that fear has shaped her life. The child stays close to her mother, unaware of the grown-up tension in the air. She only knows tiredness and the hope that things might become easier. Seeing her makes the situation even harder to accept. No child should learn to be strong this early in life. Memories return to Kazari again, sharper this time. He remembers nights spent alone. Even when surrounded by comfort, he remembers wishing someone would notice his silence. In that moment, he realizes pain can exist in different forms, but it always feels the same inside. He feels regret, not loud or dramatic, but deep and steady. Regret for being distant, for caring more about order than people. He understands now that rules without care can harm more than help. Power without kindness leaves scars. He speaks gently, choosing his words carefully. There is no blame in his voice, only concern. That simple change surprises Yelima more than anger ever could. For the first time, she feels seen, not as a worker, but as a person. That discovery becomes a turning point. A hidden truth comes into the light, and with it comes a chance to change something that should never have been ignored. Old memories suddenly return to Kazari without warning. He sees himself as a small boy again, standing in a large house that looked perfect from the outside, but felt empty inside. His parents were rarely around. They were always traveling, attending meetings, and chasing bigger goals. Their voices were distant, their hugs even rarer. As a child, he learned early that silence was normal. The people who raised him were workers. They fed him, dressed him, and watched over him. But there was always a clear line between care and belonging. They were kind, yet they were not family. At night, he would lie awake in a soft bed, staring at the ceiling, wishing someone would sit beside him and ask how he felt. No one ever did. He remembers eating meals alone at long tables made for many people. The house was full of sound during the day, but the evenings felt cold. Toys filled his room, but joy was missing. When he tried to speak about his feelings, he was told to be strong and grateful. Slowly, he learned to keep everything inside. Those memories mix with what he sees now. A tired mother standing quietly. A child holding on to her with trust and fear. The scene feels too familiar. He realizes the pain he carried as a boy never truly left him. It only changed shape and hid behind success. For years, he believed money was the answer to everything. He thought building an empire would fill the empty spaces in his heart. Instead, it only made those spaces quieter. Standing there, he understands something he never allowed himself to see before. A child does not need luxury. A child needs presence, safety, and love. He feels a strange connection to the little girl. Her quiet need mirrors his own past longing. He understands her without words. That understanding brings guilt. He wonders how many times he walked past pain without noticing, just like his parents once did. The realization is heavy but clear. He sees that repeating the same pattern is easy when no one stops to reflect. He sees how wealth can distract from responsibility. And for the first time, he does not want to turn away. Those childhood memories soften his voice and slow his steps. They guide his next choice. He knows he cannot change his past, but he can change what happens now. In remembering who he once was, he begins to become the person he needed back then. Kazari looks at Yulima with quiet eyes, expecting nothing. Yet his next words are different from anything she has ever heard. Instead of scolding or questioning why she brought her child inside, he asks something simple but powerful. What do you really need? The question feels strange, almost unbelievable. She blinks, unsure if she heard him correctly. No one has ever asked her that before. Not a boss, not a neighbor, not even a friend. Yulima freezes for a moment, her hands trembling slightly. She has spent years hiding her struggles, convincing herself that survival means silence. But now, faced with someone who has power over her life, she is given permission to speak. She looks at him, searching his face for a hint of judgment, but finds none. Only curiosity and care. The little girl clings to her mother's leg, sensing that something important is happening. She watches quietly, eyes wide, unsure of the words being exchanged but feeling the shift in the room. Yulima takes a deep breath and begins to speak, her voice soft but steady. She talks about a place where her child can sleep safely, where she can rest without fear, where life feels stable instead of uncertain. She explains the everyday struggles, the nights spent in tiny spaces, the fear of being noticed. Kazari listens without interrupting. Each sentence reaches him deeply, breaking through the walls he built around his heart. He realizes that her needs are not about luxury or money. They are about dignity, safety, and the ability to live without constant worry. He feels a mix of regret and responsibility. Regret for never noticing before, and responsibility to act now that he does. For Yulima, the moment is overwhelming. She had never expected understanding or kindness, only orders and expectations. Yet here is a man with immense power asking her to share her truth. Her hope, long buried under years of silence, begins to surface. Kazari's question changes the tone of everything. It is not charity, it is recognition. It is not pity, it is respect. And for the first time, Yulima feels seen not just as a worker but as a person with a life, with a child, with real needs. In that quiet room, a bond begins to form, one built on empathy and understanding, opening the door to a future where both their lives can be different, better, and full of human care. Kazari decides to do more than just listen. He wants to change the situation in a way that gives Yulima and her daughter real freedom and safety. He does not offer temporary help or pity. Instead, he promises things that matter. A place to live, a safe home where the child can sleep without fear, and the chance for education that can shape a better future. He treats them not as people to rescue, but as individuals worthy of respect. He speaks gently, explaining that the help comes from understanding, not power. The walls of the mansion no longer feel like a barrier. They become a symbol of opportunity. Yulima cannot believe the offer. She has spent so long surviving quietly, expecting nothing, that this gesture feels almost impossible. Her mind struggles to accept that someone with such wealth could care about her life in such a personal way. The little girl looks up, sensing hope for the first time. She clings to her mother, but her eyes shine with curiosity instead of fear. The thought of a warm bed, a safe room, and schooling she could enjoy fills her heart with excitement she has never known. For the first time, her small world seems bigger and kinder than she imagined. Kazari shows them the home he has prepared, not as a gift, but as a place where they belong. He listens as Yelima talks about her hopes and fears, and he takes them seriously. Each plan he makes is meant to build confidence and independence, not dependency. He understands that respect cannot be given through money alone. It is shown through trust, patience, and listening. Over the next days, their lives start to change slowly. The child learns to play without worry, to laugh freely, and to sleep peacefully at night. Yelima feels a sense of relief she has never known, a lightness in her chest as the burden of hiding disappears. She begins to see possibilities for herself and her daughter that once seemed impossible. For Kazari, the experience transforms him as well. He realizes that true success is not measured in wealth or titles, but in the ability to see others' struggles and respond with humanity. He learns that giving dignity can create joy far greater than any achievement in his business. That quiet mansion, once only a symbol of power, now becomes a place of care, growth, and hope, a home in the truest sense of the word. Safara curls up in her new bed, the soft blankets warm around her small body. For the first time in a long while, she closes her eyes without fear. The quiet room feels safe, the kind of place every child should know. Her tiny chest rises and falls slowly as sleep finally takes her, bringing relief not only to her, but also to her mother. Yelima watches her daughter with tears in her eyes, a mixture of gratitude and disbelief. After so many nights of worry and hiding, this moment feels like a miracle. Kazari stands nearby, silently observing. He has seen countless achievements in his life, contracts signed, companies built, deals won, but none of it compares to this simple, quiet scene. A child sleeping peacefully in safety and comfort strikes a chord in his heart that no business success ever could. He realizes that wealth and power can create material things, but they cannot replace care, empathy, and human connection. As he looks at Yelima, he notices the relief in her posture, the calmness in her expression. She no longer hides her exhaustion behind forced smiles or quiet endurance. She feels valued and respected, not just as an employee but as a person with needs, dreams, and responsibilities. Kazari understands that offering help with dignity changes lives in a way charity never could. The mansion, once just a symbol of his success, now feels alive with meaning. Rooms that used to seem empty and cold now carry warmth, hope, and a sense of belonging. He walks through the halls with a new perspective, noticing the little things, the quiet happiness of a mother watching her child, the peaceful breath of a girl who finally feels safe. These are lessons no amount of money or awards could ever teach him. That night, Kazari reflects on his own life. He remembers his childhood, the nights of loneliness, the absence of love he thought he could fill with ambition. Seeing Safara sleep peacefully reminds him that true success is measured not by achievements or possessions, but by the positive impact one can have on others' lives. As the house falls silent, he smiles quietly to himself, understanding something profound. Power without compassion is empty. Wealth without empathy is meaningless. And the simple act of giving safety, respect, and care can change everything. In that still night, he learns that real fulfillment comes from humanity, and that a peaceful child is worth more than any fortune. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more amazing African tales. Hit the bell so you never miss a story that touches the heart.